This is the iPhone 4, and it has the Apple A4 chip inside of it. And this is the start to a brand new series that I'm going to be working on over the next couple of weeks, how to bypass the activation lock on almost every single iPhone, iPad, or iPod Touch in existence. And in this first video, we will be covering the Apple A4 chip. And we'll be covering so many other devices, so make sure you get subscribed so you get to see those videos when they come out. But let's get right into the bypassing process. Now, if you're wondering if you have an A4 device or not, here's a list of all the devices that have the Apple A4 chip. And the method I will be showing you works on any of these devices. Actually, we'll be showing 3 methods. 2 methods for both Mac and Linux, and 1 method for Windows. But let's jump right in. I will first be talking about the Mac and Linux methods, but if you guys want to go straight to Windows, then jump to this time right here. So the first method I will be covering for Mac or Linux is the Hacktivation method. Hacktivation. That is fun to say. Basically, if you have any device that's running anything in between iOS 3 and iOS 6, you can do what's called Hacktivate it, which is essentially fake activating it. And the thing about Hacktivation is it works really, really well. You can sign into your Apple account. I mean, with limitations, of course, because iOS 6 is so old, but you can do that. You can sideload apps, all those things that you want to do, because Hacktivation works so well. And several Apple A4 devices are running iOS 6 as their latest version, but if you have an iPhone 4, like I do in my case, then you know the latest version is totally iOS 7. So we have to downgrade it to iOS 6 first, which is possible. I'm going to show you how, and then we can Hacktivate it. But if you guys don't want to downgrade to iOS 6 and you want to keep iOS 7 on your device, then I will move to the second method for Mac and Linux. You will need a computer and you will need a charger for this setup. Now, I would highly recommend trying to get your hands on an official Apple charger because off-brand chargers typically don't work very well with exploits, and we will be needing to run an exploit on this phone in order to downgrade it and then eventually jailbreak it in order to Hacktivate it. So get your hands on an official Apple charger if possible. Furthermore, we will need to put it in DFU mode. So if you're running on a Mac that has USB-C, then DFU mode is not going to work. You'll have to unplug it from the Mac, plug it into the wall outlet, put it in DFU mode, and then reconnect it to the Mac, which is just a very long and annoying process, but it is possible. So try to get your hands on a Mac that still has USB-A, and if you're running on a Linux machine, make sure you use USB 2.0, not 3.0, because 3.0 is essentially like USB-C. Putting it in DFU mode or running exploits all on USB 3.0 really just doesn't work very well. So running it on USB 2.0 is going to be a lot better. So I would highly recommend that. And if your computer only has USB 3.0, then use a USB 2.0 hub, which you can find for like $5. But I'm going to go ahead and get my phone connected to my computer just like this. There we go. And now we are going to open up Terminal. Now, if you're running on Linux, you can skip this step entirely, but if you're running on a Mac, make sure you do this. You will need to run this command, xcode-select install. All the commands and everything else in this video is linked down in the description, so just cut and paste. That's going to be the easiest. But yes, if you're on a Mac, you need to run this. This command will install command line tools, and essentially what those are, they're more like developer tools. So since we'll be working with operating systems and stuff, we need developer privileges and all that good stuff. So paste this command and press return. As you can tell on my computer, it says the command line tools are already installed, but that is totally okay. On yours, it'll just ask, are you sure you want to install? You'll hit yes, and it installs and you're good to go. And I'll mention this again, you do not have to do this on Linux. You only have to do this on Mac. And now you'll click the link in the description, which will take you to the Legacy iOS kit. This is a tool that can do the downgrading, jailbreaking, and even the bypassing. It can do everything. So we're going to use this tool. So click the very first option, which has the .zip extension, and this will download the Legacy iOS kit onto your computer. Go ahead and extract the file. And I'm just going to drag it to the desktop because honestly, that makes my life significantly easier. And now in the terminal window, we'll type CD, hit the space bar, and now we'll drag the Legacy iOS kit folder into the terminal window just like this and press return. And now in order to launch the script, we're going to do /restore.sh. Once again, you can just cut and paste from the description, and we'll press the return key. Now, when the Legacy iOS kit launches for the first time, it will install what's called dependencies onto your computer. These are just things like libusb and other boring things, basically making the computer possible to communicate with the phone. Now, on Mac, this should only take like 5 seconds. On Linux, it has taken me like 15 minutes. So yeah, I don't know why, but you will have to do that, and eventually once the dependencies are done, you'll have to relaunch the script. And in order to do that, you don't have to cut and paste the command every single time. You can just hit the up arrow key and press return on your keyboard, and that will redo the same command you just typed in. And if your device is connected properly and everything works, you'll see this come up in the terminal window, which this is the Legacy iOS Kit script. Since I'm going to be showing you how to use the Hacktivate option first, we've got to downgrade first to an older iOS version. In order to do that, click the next link in the description, which is ipsw.me. Then just choose your device, in my case it's the iPhone, and then scroll down to your device, in which case I have an iPhone 4. And if you are running on a phone or even an iPad that has cellular features, you'll see there's the iPhone 4 CDMA and iPhone 4 GSM. And yes, these two are actually different. The good news is that the Legacy iOS Kit will tell you which device it is. So in this case, it's the iPhone 4 CDMA. So that's the one I will choose. And we're going to scroll past the signed IPSW, and we're going to choose literally any iOS version in this list. Even though I would warn you with iOS 4, it is very unstable on the iPhone 4 in particular, so I wouldn't go that route, but anywhere in between iOS 5.0 and iOS 6.1.3 is the sweet spot. So I'm going to download iOS 6.1.3, so we'll just hit download. So once you've got your iOS version downloaded, we are going to need to download the base IPSW, which in this case is iOS 7.1.2. So we're going to download this as well. So now you'll have two IPSWs for your phone, the one you're going to restore to and your base IPSW, which is going to be the latest. So once you got both of those downloaded, head back into the Legacy iOS Kit and click on the very first option, which is restore/downgrade. It's not really click, it's hit return, but I'm sure you guys understand that. Then we'll choose Powder Snow, any iOS. And now we'll choose the very first option, which is select target IPSW. And as you can tell, the Legacy iOS Kit searched my computer automatically for IPSWs, and it detected 3 that I have downloaded for this phone. Now yours may not do this, or it may not find it, in which case you can go down to Open File Picker, or it'll just open up automatically, and you can choose the IPSW from the Finder. In this case, I'm going to choose my target IPSW, which is iOS 6.1.3. So we'll hit return. And now we'll choose the second option, which is select base IPSW, in which case it once again automatically found iOS 7.1.2 in my downloads folder. And there we go. You can add custom boot arguments if you want. I personally never use them. And you can also add a custom Apple logo if you guys just want to get spicy like that. Once again, I've never done that, and I don't feel like doing it now either. So there you go. But now you'll see a brand new option called Start Restore. So we'll hit enter there. Now, this is super important jailbreak option. If you're doing a downgrade, click yes, because we need the jailbreak in order to Hacktivate the device. I'm actually not going to personally because I want to show you what the jailbreak process looks like after we do the downgrade. But if you're downgrading, click yes. Jailbreak is required to Hacktivate. And then you'll see memory option for creating custom IPSW. So basically it's got to merge that base IPSW and the target IPSW into one custom IPSW. And since that requires a lot of copying and stuff, it's a lot faster to do it on the system memory. So if you have over 8 gigs of memory, then you can click yes, and the process will go by much faster. But if your computer has less than 8 gigs, click no, or else it'll run out of room and crash. In this case, I have 16 gigs of memory, so we'll hit yes. And then we can choose verbose boot option. If you want to see a whole bunch of log files appear on your device every time you boot it, go right ahead. I think that's boring, so I'm going to skip it. It's not required. And then you'll see PON-DFU and KDFU options. Since we're going to be restoring a custom IPSW, the phone has to be in DFU so we can talk to the firmware directly. And you either do that through an exploit called PON-DFU or the other exploit, which is KDFU. But KDFU requires your phone to be already jailbroken, and since it's locked, I'm assuming it's not, so we will have to use PON-DFU in this case. As you can tell, it was able to pair with my device successfully. If for some reason it doesn't, you'll get a little message on your phone asking, do you trust this computer? You click trust and move on with life. But since the phone isn't activated, that's probably not going to be an issue for you guys. So now we'll go ahead and send the device into recovery mode. And there you go. As you can tell, mine went into recovery mode. You can see the charger and the iTunes logo. That means it went into recovery mode successfully. And now we're going to have to put it in DFU mode. Now, like I said, if you're running on a USB-C computer, go ahead and disconnect the phone from the computer and plug it into the wall. And then in order to enter DFU mode, you have to press and hold the power button and the home button for 8 seconds, and then release the power button, but continue to hold the home button for another 8 seconds. At that point, you can unplug it from the wall and plug it back into your computer. But in this case, I have USB-A, so I'm going to show you exactly how to put it in DFU mode, and the Legacy iOS kit gives you a timer and everything, so it's much easier. So when you're ready, you'll hit return on yes, and now we're going to press and hold the power button and the home button for 8 seconds. And as you can tell, the Legacy iOS kit will count down. Now we're going to release the power button, and we're going to continue to hold the home button for another 8 seconds. And there we go, my device went into DFU mode. It doesn't show anything on the screen, and that's good. If for some reason it restarts or goes back into recovery mode, then you'll have to start the process over again. Now you'll see a whole bunch of text loading on the Legacy iOS kit. This is just it creating that custom IPSW to restore it onto this phone. And there you go. Eventually your device will go into restore mode. You can see the Apple logo and the progress bar. And since we're restoring to iOS 6, we get the old Apple logo, which I personally love. And this process shouldn't take very long at all. So give it about 5 minutes or so, and the restore should be successful. All right, as you can see, it says status, restore finished. I've done this restore like 100 times in my life, and I don't think I've ever gotten an error unless like I had a bad cable or something like that. But if you have any issues, let me know down in the comments, but you shouldn't. I've done this so many times and I haven't had any issues, but yeah, just let me know. Eventually the device will restart like this, and you'll see a progress bar, and we're just gonna wait for it to boot for the first time. And there we go, it booted into iOS 6 correctly. So now we can go ahead and Hacktivate the device. Now, if you just finished the restore like I did, then you should go straight into Hacktivating. But if you have, let's say like the first iPad, for example, which only goes up to iOS 6, theoretically speaking, then you'll have to manually jailbreak it, which I'm gonna show you how to do that real quick. Keep your phone connected and go back into the Legacy iOS kit. And now we're just going to go down to the second option, which is Jailbreak Device. And now we'll go down to where it says yes, and we'll send the device into recovery mode just like before, and we'll go into DFU mode just like before. And there you go. As you can tell, there's a whole bunch of text scrolling on the screen, and then eventually it'll go into what looks like restore mode because it's got the Apple logo and the progress bar. That just means it's loaded what's called the RAM disk. You can imagine the RAM disk is kind of like the iPhone version of MS-DOS. A temporary operating system where you can punch in a whole bunch of commands. And there we go. It says cool, done and jailbroken, hopefully. That's encouraging. The device should restart like normal, just like this. And there we go, it restarted correctly. So now that it's jailbroken, which it should be, there's not really a good way to verify it, but we'll find out here in a second. Now we'll go back into the Legacy iOS kit and we'll actually Hacktivate the device. So now we're going to go down to where it says useful utilities, press return, and we're going to go down to where it says Hacktivate device, and we'll click return again. We'll go down to where it says yes, and then you'll see enter the SSH root password of your iOS device. You're probably thinking, I didn't add a password to my device? That's totally okay. Right after it jailbreaks, it will install what's called SSH onto your device, which is how it can communicate through a cable all the commands and stuff like that. And it is guarded with a password, but the default password is always the same, which is Alpine. So just type in Alpine into the Legacy iOS kit. As you can tell, no text will appear, but that is okay. Then just press return. And if it freezes, make sure your device is unlocked like this. And there you go. It immediately rebooted just like this. And now it should be perfectly activated. And there we go. The device will restart just like this. And as you can tell, it is activated because I am not connected to a network, and yet I have the option to continue. And now you can just go ahead and set this phone up like normal. And there you go. Oh dear, the storage is almost full. This is a normal message after a jailbreak. It's probably not accurate, so you can just ignore it. And there you go. The device has been activated and it works correctly. So yes, this was a mission success. Now, for you users who do have the ability to go to iOS 7, for example, the iPhone 4, which totally has the ability to go to iOS 7, you can still bypass the activation lock, but it requires you to delete the Setup app, which isn't the greatest technically because that'll limit a lot of things, such as the ability to sign into iCloud, sideload, all those other things, but sometimes it's worth it. So yes, let me restore this back to iOS 7 and let me show you how to do that. All right, we have almost restored to iOS 7. So fun fact for you users out there, if you downgrade to an older iOS version using Powder Snow, it will more than likely damage something on the device, which means you will have to disable the exploit and clear the NVRAM if you want to go back to the latest operating system. I do not know why this is the case, but it's very normal. So just head into the Legacy iOS kit, just go down to Useful Utilities and disable/enable exploit and disable exploit. This will require you to go back into DFU, so go ahead and do that. And eventually you'll see an Apple logo with a progress bar just like this. This just means the RAM disk loaded, and eventually the device will restart and it should not go back into recovery mode. I do not know why this is the case with these devices, but yeah, there's a little bit of a fun fact for you. All right, as you can tell, we are back in iOS 7. And so now let me show you how to bypass the activation lock if you still want iOS 7, because no, the Hacktivate process does not work using this operating system. It must be iOS 6 or older. So we're going to use the Legacy iOS kit again. This time we're going to go down to Useful Utilities, press enter, and we're going to go down to SSH RAM disk and press enter again. Like I was explaining earlier, a RAM disk is what you would call the MS-DOS for iPhone. Once again, you'll be greeted with the PON DFU or KDFU options. And once again, I'm assuming your phone isn't jailbroken, so we're going to use the PON DFU method, and we're going to send it back into recovery mode, and we're going to put it back in DFU mode. And as you can tell, a whole bunch of text will begin to load on the screen, and eventually you'll see an Apple logo with a progress bar. That just means the RAM disk loaded successfully. It's not restore mode, even though it looks exactly the same. So now in the Legacy iOS kit, you'll see a whole bunch of new options, but we are going to hit connect to SSH. Now, all of these commands that I'm going to mention are listed in the description, so just cut and paste. That is going to be the easiest. And the first command you are going to type is this, mount.sh. Press return. Several people for some reason commented in my last video when they did this, they would get the error that said resource busy. Now, if you get that error, that means your drive has already mounted and you do not need to redo it. Yes, for some reason it mounts automatically for some of you guys, apparently. And now you're going to paste the next command, and this is what's going to delete the Setup app. The Setup app is the application that is telling you your device is locked to activation lock. So if you delete it, it removes the lock. So we'll hit return. And then the last command is this one, reboot_back, and hit return again. And this will restart your device. And now you can just exit out of the Legacy iOS kit. If all works, your device will restart just like this, and it should take you, directly to the lock screen. And there we go. We have successfully bypassed the activation lock on iOS 7. Now, since we deleted the Setup app, it's going to be hit and miss for a lot of you guys. Some of you will be able to sideload apps without a problem. Some of you will be able to sign into your Apple account without a problem. Some of you may even be able to use iMessage and FaceTime without a problem. Some of you may not be able to do any of these things. That is the unfortunate reality of bypassing the activation lock using this method. So if you want to be able to sideload apps and all that, I recommend using Hacktivating, but it requires you to go back to iOS 6. So now I have covered both methods for both Mac and Linux. Now let's jump to the Windows method so you Windows users aren't being left out. You're welcome. Alrighty, now it is time for me to show you guys how to bypass Apple A4 devices using a Windows computer. And you're probably wondering, where's your Windows computer? Unfortunately, this bypass I used to be able to do on an emulator and then it broke or something, so I don't have a Windows machine. I would use an emulator for all the bypassing and stuff, but for some reason it didn't work, so I'm going to use an old desktop computer that I have, and it's from like 2005, so the graphics won't even let me screen record, which is extremely sad. So using my current iPhone, I am going to film the screen, which looks about like this. I apologize in advance. I'm a terrible YouTuber, aren't I? Yeah. Now, unlike Hacktivating with macOS or Linux, which requires you to be on iOS 6 or older, This one actually requires you to be on iOS 7. So we're gonna go ahead and plug our device into our computer, which the cord isn't long enough. Oh my gosh. Okay, this video. All right, if I put it upside down for me, it'll be forward for you guys. That is video editing at its finest right there. So in the description, you're going to click this link, which will take you to iremove.tools, and you're going to go down to free, and you're going to choose your device. The iPhone 4 is what we have, so that's the one we're going to click. We're going to scroll down to where it says download software, Windows. We're going to click that. I don't care. Now we're going to right click the zip file, and we're going to click extract all and extract, and then we can go into the folder and open up the application. And if your device is connected correctly, then it will show up in this window. But yours is probably going to look a little different because, as you can tell, mine says start bypass. Yours will probably say something like order bypass. And this is because I've already done the bypass on this particular phone, but it looks a little like this. You just click the order bypass and it'll take you to this website with the order form. Just enter in your name and email, and it doesn't cost anything, so I don't necessarily know why it's called an order necessarily, but okay, whatever. And then once you place your order, you'll probably have to fill out a CAPTCHA or whatever. And then once you place your order, you can close the window and your screen will look just like mine, and it says start bypass. So with the device unlocked just like this, we're now just going to click start bypass, just like this. And there you go. As you can see, it says your device has been successfully bypassed. And now you can go ahead and disconnect it from your computer. And for me, I'm going to go ahead and flip it around. Much better. And we can set up this device like normal. As you can tell, it's not connected to the internet, but it is indeed activated. And yes, you can set up a passcode and everything. And there you go. It says, welcome to iPhone, get started. And yes, everything is working just as you would expect. Now I'm going to go ahead and give a fair warning. I've only ever tested this on the iPhone 4 before and the iPad 2, but that has the A5 chip, so really doesn't matter anyway. But I'm pretty sure this tool works on any A4 device that's running on iOS 7 and maybe even iOS 6. I'm not certain though. So if you guys for some reason cannot do it using this method, then flash boot into Linux, in which case you can follow the Linux method and bypass your device. Now also, this tool does say it's tethered, but we're gonna verify that real quick. I am pretty sure this is an untethered bypass. Yeah, I mean, as you can tell, it's freezing up a lot, but okay, there we go. Now it works. This is 100% untethered. So I do not know why the tool is listed as a tethered bypass if it's untethered, but okay. Well guys, that is everything for this video. Hopefully you are able to get your device bypassed, and let me know down in the comments if you have any issues or questions or concerns or anything else for that matter, and I will respond to them as soon as possible. And if you're wanting to bypass a different device, such as your iPhone 5, iPhone 8, or a totally different device for that matter, then get subscribed because I will be releasing videos for this series for quite a while now. So yes, stay tuned. Eventually your device will come out, but that's it for this one. So now it's your turn. Go and find something to fix. Catch you guys in the next one. See you soon.